Hello, welcome to Zeens and Roger. This is a tutorial for a summer hat. I have not actually finished my summer hat yet. I've got this far and then I decided I'm going to make a tutorial. But I am now at a point, this is what it looks like. I am at the point where I've stopped increasing now. These are all, it's worked from the centre outwards and it's worked in a spiral, so you go round and round and round and round and round until you reach a size that is hat size, effectively. It looks quite small, but have faith that it will fit. If you make too many increases at the start, it does actually continue to grow outwards a little bit, and therefore you would end up with a hat much too big. I am using the half treble stitch in UK terms, which in US terms is a half double. I'm using no other stitches at all. It's all the half treble, half double stitch. Regular increases are made, which is basically plopping 2 stitches into one space. And that's how you grow outwards, and then stop increasing when you want to build the sides of the hat. Now I'm using Wool in the Gang's raffia. I've had this in my stash for such a long time. It was a bit of a spur of the moment purchase, and I have probably had it in my cupboard for about 2 years, and finally I have decided what to make with it. It doesn't come in this hideous bird's nest shaped ball. I have already made a hat and it was too big, so I frogged it back. So believe me when I say it does grow bigger than you think it's going to, because that happened to me. So I have done a couple more calculations to work out that this actually will fit. Trust me. Trust me. I'm using a 4mm hook for that. And I will also be writing this up properly and sticking the written pattern on my blog, which is basically zeensandroger.com. So go and check it out. I will link below. I will also leave an affiliate link for raffia in the description box below. So if you want to go and grab yourself one single skein, then you can do just that. Okay, so let's get started. You need your 4mm hook, stitch marker, and some raffia that's new and not frogged. It looks a lot less scrumpled up. Okay, so I use a magic circle or magic ring to start. So you wrap the yarn around 2 fingers like that, and then do this. I don't know what that twiddling motion is called, but it's what creates a magic loop. You've got your working end then, and then you've got your tail end, which you can pull slightly, and that will close your circle a little bit to make it easier to work into. So the first round is 8 stitches, so that's 8 half US double stitches, or half treble stitches if you use UK terminology. So yarn over and work through the loop, yarn over, you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. If you want to find it, if you want it to be much easier to identify that first stitch, put your stitch marker in and then make the rest of the stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you'll notice that I am working over this tail end as I go, because what you're going to do now is pull it closed so that the top of your hat does not have a hole in it. So it looks something like that. The next stitch you're going to work into is this one here, and that's the beginning of round 2. So take out your stitch marker and just immediately work into that. You can leave this tail end behind and sew it in once you've finished your hat. So for round 2, it's just increasing in every stitch, and an increase is basically just 2 stitches in the same space. So that's one stitch. I'm going to make another stitch in there, in that space, but before I do, I'm just going to put my stitch marker in that first stitch of the round if I can. It is fiddly, but don't worry, it's fine. It's much easier once you get the first couple of rounds out of the way. So I've made 2 stitches into that first stitch. 1, 2, 1, whoops, 2, 1, 2, don't drop your stitch, but if you do, it's easy just to pick it up again and redo it. So as you can see, this is the beginnings of a spiral. And once we're done with round 2, we'll have 16 stitches. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 is that one, that first one we did. So it looks a little bit hidden, which is why stitch markers are great, because you can see exactly where things are. So this is the beginning of round 3. Again, you want to make an increase in that first stitch of the round. So that's 2 stitches in the same space, and put your stitch marker in the first of those 2 stitches. So that's the beginning of round 3. In the next stitch, you just work 1 stitch, followed by an increase. So it's 1, 2 in that space. Then 1 on its own, and all the way around it's 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, ending with a 1. And then if you kind of find yourself getting sidetracked or whatever, then you can just look at it and work out where the last increase was, then the single, you know that this one is an increase, so it needs another stitch in there. If you need to, you can pause, you can even slow down the video or skip loads. It's an accompaniment to a written pattern on my blog, so you can use them together. You don't have to just use this video. The written information is there too. Now I'm looking at it, these would make great coasters. If you just make them big enough. And they're coasters. Wow. Right, so that's the end of round 3. So you want to take out your stitch marker. First round of an increase round is always 2 stitches in the first stitch. So that's 2. Stitch marker in the first stitch. The only thing that differs for round 4 is that it's, instead of 1 stitch between increases, it's 2 stitches between increases. And then an increase. And then they go up incrementally. Okay. Not okay. I've just done one. An increase too soon. So always check. Just keep, as you work, do double check, do count, and make sure that you haven't inadvertently made an increase where you don't need one. It's really easy to do, and I do it all the time. So hopefully that helps with how to start the hat. The shaping of the head, the top of the hat, is basically uniform increases made until you stop making increases. And then by the time you get to 12 rounds, it looks like this. So 8 into a magic ring, then increase a round for round 2, round 3 is increase, then 1. My blog post will look neater and more professional than this. Increase, then 2 stitches, increase, then 3 stitches for round 5. Then round 6 is an increase in 4 stitches, and so on. But then what I wanted to do was slow down the increases so that it was a more gradual process, because what would happen otherwise is that you'd have a circle and then it would just drop down straight on the sides, and then you're left with a kind of ridge around the top of your hat, which looks a bit ugly. So I've made more gradual increases from row 9 onwards. So there's only 4, rather than having 8 increases in each of these rounds, I dropped down to 4 increases per round. Hope that makes sense. And then by the time you get to here, you've got 80 stitches. Around here it's 80 stitches. And then you can start dropping down the sides. Round 13, 2, I don't know. I might try 10 rounds and see how we go. Maybe it'll be 10 or 11, something like that, before we work on the brim. I will come back to you on that one in about an hour or so after I've done it. See you in a minute. So I am at the end of what is round 12. I've put my stitch marker here just as an indicator of just working in the round with no increases. So you just go round and around and around in a spiral, and you'll notice the sides start to build up after a few rounds. Right, I'm going to go and have my lunch and do some crochet. I'll be back. So it's a couple of hours later, I've had my lunch and I have worked up 10 rounds of just plain round, no increases at all. Here is my first stitch marker. I've left that one in, and I am going to start a brim. And I don't think I mentioned it before, or if I did, I've forgotten. I measured my head and it's 57 centimetres around. I don't know if that's big or small, but that's my head. It's the right size for me. Right, so the first round of the brim it's an increase stitch, so 2 stitches in the same space, and I'm going to put another stitch marker in there, do it up, and then just 1 stitch in the next space. And basically I'm just going to repeat that around. It's an increase in 1, and then just a normal stitch in the next, and you just do that all the way around, and that will be the first round of the brim. And after that, again, no increases, it's just a few more rounds of brim. I think I might make this row round and then do 3 plain rounds, but then I'll try it on, and if I like it then I'll stop. If I think it needs another round, then I'll add another round. I think with this sort of thing it's personal preference, it's entirely up to you what you do. Another thing I forgot to mention, possibly, or I may have done, I can't remember, it's hours ago now. If you wanted to make it smaller, just stop one row short of those increases at the beginning. If you want it to be bigger, add another round of increases. But when I've measured a couple of stitches, you're talking about 1 centimetre per 2 stitches, and for those that follow inches, it's just under ½ inch for 2 stitches. So, but I tried this on, I've just taken a photograph of me wearing it at this stage here, so you can get an idea of roughly how it sits on my head, and hopefully that will help you, and I'll put that in the notes that are on my blog. So I've worked that increase round for the brim, and it's looking like this at the minute. So you can see it's got that bucket hat style thing going on. I'm going to work 3 more rounds and then probably fasten off. When I fasten off, I will probably, well, there's no probably about it, I will. Hang on, I'm just going to move that, and let's make the first stitch and move it. All I'll do when I am ready to fasten off is work a single crochet like that, maybe do 2 or 3, then I'll do a slip stitch and fasten off before weaving in the ends. So that's what I'll do to finish it.